You know how sometimes Legends of Runeterra releases something awesome? The player base loves it, but at the back of our mind we're thinking, so what exactly is happening here? Well, this is one of those. The reveal of Nilah traveling to the Freljord to fight the Volibear sounded amazing. Until we realized that Nilah is supposed to be in a slightly different place in the present days. As you might know, Nilah's latest story focused on traveling to the Bilgewater so she could interrogate Graves, who was previously part of the Sentinels, just so she could learn about Viego's current location. Because most likely she plans on finding him and killing him, and that's for multiple reasons. First of all, Nilah holds the power of Ashlash, a great demon who wiped her name from history in exchange for the chance to be remembered forever as a great hero, albeit under a different name. See, there is always a catch with demons. So these days, Nilah is traveling around the world finding the greatest beasts she can find, so that she could forever be remembered as a great hero. But also, Nilah comes from Kafkan, a nation neighboring Kamavor, which is the kingdom formerly ruled by Viego. And since these two nations were always rivals at war, of course, Nilah would have a thing or two to say to him. Up until now, this is how Nilah's story was set up, which is why a lot of people got confused with the sudden reveal that she would be fighting the Volibear, because the Freljord is across the entire world from where she is supposed to be. Then again, if you take her story into consideration, she is the kind of character that would travel across the entire world just to slay a giant mythical beast. Although she might not know that Volibear is in fact not just a beast. So today, let's have a look at all the amazing cards we got for the Volibear, his fight with Nilah, as well as all the other cards that show us some really great moments from Volibear's history. You see, while Nilah's cards show us the heroes of the 7th layer sailing somewhere, they are most likely not sailing to the Freljord. All of those cards, which we talked about in the last video, are related to Nilah's battle in Bilgewater. There the heroes challenged Ysilla, and we assume they emerged victorious. Because immediately after that, Nilah sailed to the Freljord. But as you can see, she arrived at the Volibear alone. So here, the first card says, "Kneel to me, mortal, and I may spare you. Your power is feeble, but perhaps worthy enough to serve mine. Kneel or be swept from the earth." Of course, many of you may know that, being a demigod, the Volibear acts as a sort of a spirit. It gains power from worshippers and people who believe in its existence, which is why he is almost forcing people into following him. I mean, the only other option is to die. It is a nice contrast to Ornn, whom we assume also gains power from worshippers, but on his side, people follow him willingly. Ornn himself doesn't really care about anyone following him. Anyway, the point is, as you can see, the Volibear would see great value in Nilah following him. Of course, Nilah is not interested in that, and so their battle starts in Volibear's level 2. "You dare insult me with a challenge, puny girl from lands far away. I am the heart of the tundra, I am the storm, and to you I promise a forgettable death." You see, I don't think forgettable is in Nilah's dictionary. But unfortunately, despite how cool this encounter is, this is all we're getting. We don't learn anything about what is really happening. Right now, we don't know if this is canon, we don't know if Nilah really traveled here, we don't know if these two really fought, and we don't know the outcome of this fight. Because, as you might be aware, our main source of lore is asleep. So there is still just one massive question mark looming all over this. Thankfully, however, all the other cards Volibear got show us some really cool pieces from this universe. So let's dive right into those. Okay, maybe not this one. The Relentless Storm shows us Demacians getting zapped, which wouldn't be impossible. You can find some Demacians in the southern Freljord, but that is still quite far away from where the Ursine usually are. Speaking of which, we also got a new Ursine Berserker, who looks amazing. In case you don't know, the Ursine are Volibear's followers, who might be just regular shamans at times. But the longer they worship the Volibear, the longer they are risking their minds getting overwhelmed. And the moment they snap, they end up fully giving themselves to the Volibear. And instead of just shaping in and out of a bear form, they get permanently malformed, and they turn into animalistic abominations. Of course, some of you may remember this from the legendary story Silence for the Damned. And here, the Berserker Ursine shows us one of these abominations. The card says, occasionally, followers of the Volibear lose themselves so totally in their fanaticism that they begin to take on aspects of the bear himself. Nothing will stand in the way of Valir's will, not even those the Ursine once called countrymen. After this, we got Valir's prophet. In case you forgot, Valir is Volibear's ancient Freljordian name. I see what the others cannot. The storm which will shatter the mountain, the breaking of the bones of the earth. The Freljord of old will be forged anew in blood. It is only a matter of time. One interesting thing to point out here are the runes. Most of these I don't recognize, but there are some that are familiar. At first, this one looks like the Frostguard rune, the one that is tied to Lysandra. They are especially close to what you can find around Aram. But when you bring up that rune, you'll notice it is totally different. And in a way, it may be more similar to Ornn's runes. So I wonder if perhaps these are ancient runes tied to all the old gods, like Anivia, Ornn, the Iron Boar, and so on. But so far we don't know. And speaking of runes, there is also the Sigil of the Storm. In a treacherous mountain pass, a sigil hangs suspended, burning into the night. Much blood was offered to reach this point. And in signs like these, the Volibear offers both his approval and his desire for more. What is cool about this one is that this sigil dedicated to the Volibear can be found on Volibear himself. And what's even cooler than that is that this design dates back to the original VGU. So it's cool to see that they are using the source material for this one. But then we got something really awesome. We got a card called Rhond, the Magma Serpent. And the reason why this one is so cool is because this is the mythical being you may remember from Volibear's bio. And in fact, it heavily influenced the history of the Freljord. Here is a direct quote from the story. The sages tell how he created the 5 fjords with one mighty swipe of his claw, and how his epic battle with the savage magma serpent Rhond formed countless valleys and ravines. When the Volibear finally felled the beast, its blood became the first river of the Freljord, and its colossal corpse formed the Wormback Mountains. So yes, this is that beast. The serpent whose corpse was turned into mountains. And here is the description from Legends of Runeterra. Though few still worship him, all Freljordians know the tale of the Volibear's great battle with Rhond. Long before any mortal stepped foot in the frozen north, the earth-shattering struggle formed the ridges and rivers of the tundra itself. And connected to this, we also have the card called the Clash of Giants, which gives us one more quote. With his body I sculpted the mountains. With the fire of his maw, I carved 1,000 fjords. Honestly, it was such a good idea to turn this beast into a card. And lastly, we have one more card. Flamecaller Caprine, a former follower of Ornn who later turned towards the Ursine. The Forge Lord promised change and hammered out chains of inaction instead. Those who worship a weak god are weak themselves. Only by Valir's might will we be delivered to the glory of old. The one thing that surprised people about this one is who this is. I mean, we don't know who it is, we don't recognize them from any stories, but if you look closely, you might notice that they are not a human. They might be some kind of a Vastaya, or they might be related to the race that is around Targon. But also, you might notice that her eyes are red, which was previously used for the Hearthblood. The true followers of Ornn, most of whom are dead now. So maybe this is one of them, but as Hearthhome was destroyed, she found her faith drawn towards the Volibear. Though remember, this is just a theory. And speaking of just theories, there is one more thing we should mention. The skin Volibear got in Legends of Runeterra is the Thousand-Pierced Bear. This one was always cool, because this one used to be part of the canon universe. It is the horrifying version of Volibear which the Ursine depict in their worshipping. As I mentioned, the Volibear gains its power from followers. And in theory, that power can also be twisted depending on how they are worshipped. And in the Silence for the Damned story, Udyr learned that the Ursine worship the Volibear as this kind of monstrosity. So in theory, this is what the Volibear should look like. But as many of you may remember, when Volibear's VGU arrived, Riot wanted to turn Volibear into this monstrosity. But they realized that most of Volibear's players still like the good old fuzzy Thunder Bear. So they gave him his original visuals, but they also gave people the skin for free because that is what Volibear really is. But later, for no real reason at all, Riot put the Thousand-Pierced Bear into the Coven skin line. And from that point on, it was simply used for the alternative universe. Which is why I am sad to confirm that after reading the description of this skin, you'll see that it is only a part of the alternative universe. I mean, even Nilah here has the Coven skin. So while it is cool that the Volibear got this skin specifically, it is not actually as cool as it could have been if Riot turned it into a canonical event. You know, just replace Nilah with Udyr there and you would be good to go. But at least overall, if you look at all of these cards, we walked out with some really cool new drops. Though the battle with Nilah is still one massive question mark. There still has to be some kind of an outcome. I don't think she would be able to kill the Volibear, even if she is holding the power of Ashlash. Because in order for the Volibear to be destroyed, Ashlash would have to unleash its true form. And I strongly doubt the mortal body of Nilah would be able to survive that. So yes, Nilah could win, but at that point it wouldn't be Nilah, that would be Ashlash. Still, at the very least, according to this, some kind of a deal had to be made? Because by the end of her encounter with the Volibear, as was teased, she would be sailing back south and towards the Shadow Isles. Now, don't get your hopes up. Even though this means that the next part of this expansion will give us some Shadow Isles cards, this is still not where Viego is locked up. He should still be on Kamavor. So I don't think this next part will push Nilah's story forward either. So if anything, all of these cool cards just gave us some flavor for the universe of League of Legends. Which is what Legends of Runeterra has always been really good at. It is exploring the universe. So if there is something really amazing about the Volibear, it is that he did get by far the best emote.